Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the virtual program today, Fundraising Essentials, Donor Relations, Campaigns, and Major Gifts with William Bryant Jr. I am Brittany Spillman, and I serve as the Carey Center Director of Community and Collegiate Programs. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to thank this year's sponsors. This virtual program's presenting sponsor is the Walker Area Community Foundation. The Walker Area Community Foundation is a nonprofit, grant-making organization building the permanent capital needed to daily facilitate community conversations, inspire actions, and empower partners. This year's community and collegiate program sponsors have pledged to support our efforts in providing meaningful programming for the nonprofit sector. Thank you to Auburn University Outreach, the East Alabama Community Foundation, the River Region United Way, Auburn University Outreach Office of Public Service, Social U, and the Drummond Thornton Stukes Fund for Excellence, and a community service grant made possible by State Senator Randy Price and State Representative Joe Lovern. William Bryant Jr. is the immediate past revenue and membership growth coach for the National Office of Scouting America. William is a subject matter expert in fund development. In his over 15 years of experience, William has raised more than $400 million through annual giving, in-kind donations, special events, and endowments. William has received the Atlanta Urban League's Rising Star Award, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity's Man of the Year Award, Distinguished Alumnus Awards of Grambling University, Outstanding Atlantean Honoree, and is the recipient of the coveted National President's Award through Scouting America. William is an alumnus of Grambling State University and holds an MBA in Nonprofit Administration from Oglethorpe University. Please join me in welcoming William as he shares about fundraising essentials.
Thank you so much, Brittany, and thank you to the University of Auburn and the Carey Center for Advancement of Philanthropy and Nonprofit Studies for this opportunity to present to you today. So everyone, good afternoon. I'm going to start sharing my slides. Our presentation today is about fundraising essentials, donor relations, campaign, and major gifts. Also, if you have a question, Brittany is checking the chat. I'm a true believer that if you have a question, you have to wait till the end, ask the question now, because you may forget. So I'm William Bryant. I'm the current Scout Executive CEO for the Mobile Area Council, Scouting America. This is my contact information if you ever need to get in touch with me and things of that nature. We're going to cover three essential themes for our learning objectives. One, recognize the importance of volunteer and professional relationships. Number two, understand how to cultivate major gifts and identify your asking style. And lastly, essentials of fundraising campaigns. So our motto here in Scouting America, especially in the Mobile Area Council, we are volunteer driven and professionally guided. So volunteer driven, these are some of our board members on the right hand side, and we're driven by our mission and our passion of the youth we serve, which you see on the left hand side. So volunteer driven, that without volunteers, our organization, Scouting, would not be successful. But you have to have professionals to guide you to make sure that everyone is understanding the role, having efficiency, and things of that nature. So why should we prioritize donor relationships? Relationships. Many of you are nonprofit executives, are in fundraising, and many times that we talk about getting the funds and things like that. But the most important part of fundraising is about donor relationships. So donor relationships are approached differently. Number one, from the decision making. Number two is intended purpose. Number three, philanthropic investment and personalization as well. And this coming from fundraising analytics. Donors are making decisions more thoughtfully now. If over the last 3 years, I know in my organization, from a standpoint from our council and also from a national standpoint, the average gift have gone up, but the number of donors have gone down. So I don't know if you're experiencing that in your organization as well. So what is making that? So we're glad that the average donor, that the average gift is going up, But we also want to make sure know why are the number of gifts going down. And that happens sometimes, but to see that trend over the last 2 to 3 years is sort of we're taking a big look at that. Is we know reasons why people don't give, but we want to make sure that we are continuing to spread the word of our mission, and giving people the opportunity to give. The intended purposes, make sure if the gift are following their own intended purposes. I know many times we as fundraisers or nonprofit executive, we want this gift to go here and there and things like that. But once again, it's all about the donor. It's not about us, right? The investment, seeking a return on their philanthropic investments. What are you doing to cultivate your donors even more? What type of information are you giving to your donors who makes a gift or investment to your organization? Are you sending a 30-second update? Are you sending that thank you letter? Not just an email, but are you sending that thank you letter? And things of that nature. And then your desire to increase level of personalization. So how can you increase that donor? We're going to talk about move management in a moment as well. So the bottom line is that the one thing you cannot control is how much each donor can give. But the one thing you can control are your activities on how you are proceeding to that donor and what makes that donor give as well. So move management, plan no fancy suits. So think about a multi-year ask cultivation strategy for an annual and major gift. Plan specific personal touches, review and keep plan up to date. And if this is overwhelming, because sometimes fundraising can be, aim to do these plans for the top 10 to 20 of your donors. So we talk about move management. So if you have a donor that gave maybe, let's say, $250, and they have a potential to give to 10,000 or 5,000, things like that. So how are you moving that donor to another level? What personal touches are you doing to that donor? Are you inviting them out to an event? Like for myself, with my organization, if I have a major donor or a potential major donor that I want to cultivate to give more, I invite them out to a camporee or a summer camp or a day camp and things like that so they can see exactly where their money would go. What are some of your touch points you use to continue building a relationship with your donors or constituents? So this time, Brittany, if we can have some audience feedback, if we can get about 2 comments on what are some of the other executives are doing as far as touch points in their organization.
Absolutely. And everyone, you're welcome to unmute and ask, or you're welcome to type it in the chat. Either way. Laura Potts from Redeeming Grace said that they send birthday cards to monthly donors. Cindy said newsletters every couple of months with success stories.
Awesome. Awesome. So those are great touch points to send to your donors or constituents as far as touch. We always say you're going to need at least 4 to 5 touch points a year for your donor. And that can be for his email, that could be a thank you letter, birthday card, which is awesome, and things of that nature. Then ask these questions before you have each move on the move management. This was done by Thompson Associates Value-Based Estate Planning. What is the objective of the move? What will I learn about this donor's honesty and ability to give from this move? Why would this donor or prospect give to us? Do they love our mission? Because many times donors are mission driven. What makes sense to do next? And lastly, donor-centered moves is deliberate, focused set of actions you do with your donors and prospects, not today. So from a nonprofit perspective and a executive perspective, our work is noble and requires excellence. The mission we work for depends on our success. We must ensure we take a thoughtful, strategic approach to our work. I thought this sentence was so compelling by Thomas and Associates on our work as a nonprofit executive or fundraiser in the work that we do. Now, going on to what is your asking style? So you can go to askingstyle.com and take this short quiz on what's your asking style. One of the things that I learned from an AFP conference I went to probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and the gentleman that came up with this actually survey about what's your asking style. So you're either a rainmaker, a go-getter, a mission controller, or kindred spirit. And from the left to right quadrant, analytic, intuitive, and then from up and down, or from an extrovert to an introvert. So a rainmaker is an extrovert. Rainmakers are analytic extroverts who fearlessly act and are goal-oriented. A go-getter is an extrovert, intuitive extrovert who act on instinct and connect to donors through their energy and friendliness. And kindred spirits are introverts. They're intuitive introverts who bring passion to the cause and connect to donors through their deep commitment. So these are the four, styles of your asking styles. But one of the things about these four asking styles, at any given moment, you may have to be a rainmaker. You may have to be a kindred spirit. You may have to be a go-getter. And lastly, you may have to be a mission controller. Because as a fundraiser, a nonprofit executive, donors come in all different walks of life. And so that your asking style for one donor may be different than the next donor. But you have to realize on how to interchange those asking styles. And it does take time, because every time, so when you're talking to a donor, you're going to realize that, okay, I need to be more of a rainmaker. Okay, this person is mission driven. Let me make sure I have all the missions and accomplishments. This person is more of a calm, cool, and collective. I need to be more of a kindred spirit to this person as well. But as the person that's asking for the funds, you have to make sure that you can interchange these asking styles at any given moment. Any questions regarding that?
William, I'm curious, what's the easiest asking style for you to lean into?
So the easy one for me is a rainmaker. But however, I have grown to be sometimes more of a kindred spirit as well. Because some donors you have to really take your time with and be more attentive. I'm an extrovert, so being an introvert is hard for me, but I have to force myself to do it. Because remember, it's not about you; it's about the donor. And
Yes.
so if you understand that, it's not about you; it's about the donor.
I think it's about meeting them where they are and being able to adapt, like you said. Mary Ellis said, how can you practice asking styles that are less natural to you?
Oh, thank you. So I would say, doing practices, practices with your team, doing some mock donor meetings. That's the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to practice. Because you don't want to go into something. So you don't want to go into and going to different trainings as well. So many trainings now, they doing mock trainings and not mock training, but mock interviews and things like that on how to do things like that. So I have seen that more in some trainings I have gone to. People are doing more, want to get the experience because they are doing this and things of that nature now. Okay. Any questions before we go to essentials for a great campaign? I got great today. Okay, so some essentials for a great campaign. One thing about a campaign, you have to plan, you have to have volunteer leadership, you must have a goal, and a theme. Sometimes you may have a theme. So campaign leadership is crucial. Someone that believe in your campaign, believe in the mission of the organization, have a theme. A theme can be, make it fun, make it interactive, Habit orientation. I'm a true believer. Don't ever think what someone. Don't ever assume what people know. Always do it one on one, basics one on one. So have an orientation, have a kickoff. You want to make sure you have a kickoff to make sure you're kicking off the campaign, kicking off your annual giving. Especially now, we know that many of our nonprofit um, in the throughout the country are experiencing some downfalls with federal grants and things like that. So now more than ever, annual campaigns are at it at is uptick on doing things like that. So you want to have a structured campaign. You want to have checkpoints. You want to have percentage goals, and you also want to celebrate. So you have a kickoff and you have a celebration. So celebrate the success of your campaign as well. So our campaign one year was "We Build Bright Futures." Scouting build bright futures, right? And so we call our campaign "Friends of Scouting," and our theme was "We Build Bright Futures." We have a C-suite executive who would be the chair of your campaign. We had Bubba, who was the market president for Truist. Bubba is now our council president. So not all the times your annual campaign chair become your council president, but we know he knows how to raise money, so which is great. And then here are some examples of how you keep your benchmarks: 25% by January 30th, 45% by February 28th, achieve 60% by March 30th, achieve 100% by April 30th, and achieve 110% by June 30th. So why I do over 100%? Because unfortunately, there's always going to be times when you have an uncollectible rate. So many times people may give a pledge, but may not fulfill their pledge and may not pay half their pledge. Because unfortunately, in a campaign, whenever someone make a pledge, two or three things, the reason why people don't pay their pledge. One, they may have moved or lost their job. Number two, unfortunately, they may have passed. And then number three, they may not believe in your mission. So those are like the top three reasons why people don't fulfill their pledges. And so you have to put that in your uncollection rate. So that's why we go over, we want to overachieve our goal. Our role, every person role on this webinar have a different role in your annual campaign, where it may be assistant of volunteer. You may have a goal. You may have, if the goal is $400,000, you may have a piece of that goal. So your role gonna different from everyone roles and things. But as long as you know your role, as long as you understand your role, and I can't tell you what your role is because you're in your own personal nonprofit. But however, every nonprofit executive have a role in fundraising. Any questions before we go to e-funding? Great. All right, so e-fund, I'm going to touch on this just shortly because just want to make sure you guys know that make sure you have some type of e-funding on your platform so people can give now. The reason why I say give now, because that's an action. If someone say donate now, that's really not an action, but if you say give, that's an action word so people can give now. E-funding is the use of digital technology as a means to raise funds. It's not your primary reason. Now some companies do, which is if some nonprofits, 100% digital, which is fine. But if you want to always cultivate and have that move management, you have to do the what will be laid out with your essentials to a fundraising campaign. Funds can be solicited through, but not limited to a website, email campaigns, events, social media, e-commerce. E-funding allows for secure online payments, processing via credit card, PayPal, e-check, ACH, or other payment platforms, like Google Wallet or Apple iPay and things like that, whatever that you have of your platform. So donor retention rate, and all these numbers are from 2017, 2018. Donor retention rate of 61% when using a multi-level, multi-channel strategy. Growth of 12.1% in revenue from online funding compared to just 4.1 growth in overall funding. So we know that online is growing, right? So make sure you have all avenues for a donor to give. They can give cash, check, but they can also give online as well. 7.6 of all fundraising done in 2017 was done online. Nearly 21% of online giving was done on a mobile device. Giving Tuesday online, this was 2017, donations was up 28%. The average online donation in 2017 was $132. Average age of an online donor in 2017 was 64. So don't think just the millennials are or the younger people are giving online, but some of our older or mature generation is also doing everything online as well. Any questions for Josh? I did some questions in the chat.
Again, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask, or you can type it in the chat and I will ask.
Okay, I continue.
William, what is your preferred like online giving platform?
Oh wow, that's a great one. So, one thing about being part of a national organization, we want to we pay for it, right? Because it's paid for through our being a council. So we use the platform that national give us as well. So our platform in reference to CRM is Blackbot, but our platform for Give Now is through our national organization. So we use that. But I would say any platform that one can streamline your giving. Number two is simplified for it's very simple, right? Because you don't want something very complicated. So make sure it's very simple and simplistic to make sure your donor don't have to struggle and give you a call. Start now for end of the year. So one of the great things about online about e-funding that you can send out an email, emails for some end of the year giving. If you could marry your offline and online strategies, prime donors throughout the year. You just never know. Embrace transparency and accountability. Reach your audience where they are. Ask at least 3 times. That's for online or in person. You and because are very powerful words. Turn your donate button into an action button. Once again, give us an action. Do not bury that button that on your website. Put that front and center. When your website opens, you have a give now button in the center or on the right hand side so they can see it as prominent. Offer and promote recurring gift like that. And don't forget the simple word of thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I have a short video. So this video I have to show you, it's like 3 minutes. So also is a great supporter of scouting. But last year they did they sent an email out to nonprofits for their annual golf tournament that's coming up. They want to to apply for this grant. You have to send in a video about what your organization is doing, what specifically what event you was going to use these funds for and things like that. So we submitted this video first time we go into the digital market, right? And so I think it was pretty good. But it's specific to a particular grant from a company, and so sometimes we talked about customization. So we customize this to this organization. So I'm going to play this video for you. So I'm going to stop sharing right now. And back to sharing. All right, and here we go. Foundational knowledge for leadership systems. Young people join Scouts. They build foundational knowledge for leadership, citizenship, conservation, fitness, and honesty. They learn to reach their full potential. Delivering the Scouting program requires time, resources, and financial support from dedicated leaders and families. We strive to teach our Scouts to unite, learn, grow, and serve in tough times. Scouting is about perseverance and determination.
The Mobile Area Council covers Mobile, Baldwin, Clark, and Washington counties. With over 500 registered leaders, including more than 60 parents and leaders employed at Ulster USA, we are a strong scouting family. In 2020, Ulster USA provided the seed funding for our first STEM lab at our camp in Grove Hill. By June 2024, over 700 scouts have participated in merit badge clinics, STEM activities, and digital gaming in the lab. Recently, we even used a portion of the STEM lab to offer a welding merit badge at Express Camp. As our STEM lab expands, the demand for more merit badge classes is higher than ever before. Ensuring a safe and growing environment is essential for our scouting needs. As we continue to grow, hosting national and regional scouting events will be essential to showcasing the Mobile Area Council. Over the next 2 years, we will have the opportunity to host the Order of the Arrow National Scouting Honor Society Regional Conference, bringing together over 400 scouts and leaders. Expanding our campsites and adding power to 48 sites is critical to hosting a significant event of this magnitude. With your support, we can showcase scouting like never before. We are very appreciative of the support of the USA throughout the last 5 years, and we hope to continue to build on this great foundation. Our focus and need is for the expansion of our STEM lab and camp facilities, including providing power to campsites for the scouts. This expansion will enable us to offer more classes for merit badges, STEM activities, and digital programming. Additionally, it will allow us to host over 400 scouts and leaders for the Regional National Honor Society Congress for Scouting. Without corporate support and dedicated volunteers, we would not be able to exist. Thank you for this opportunity to showcase the Mobile Area Council.
Does anybody have any questions for William based on something within your own nonprofit? Lean on his expertise. William is great. He has raised over $400 million in his career as a fundraiser. So if you have any questions, concerns, want to run some ideas by him, I think now would be a great time.
Yes, can I ask a quick question?
Please.
Okay, so my name's Michelle. I'm executive director of an organization that so we have 5 states. We're across 5 states. So our like home office is in Georgia, but I run Texas, right? So I have like my own goals here in the state of Texas. That so when donors, if I can get donors to give, then they can they can state that they want the funding to stay here in Texas. Sometimes they want it to stay within just a certain city in Texas, but then some of them don't care and it will go, just organizationally. So I guess what I struggle with a little bit is like the efforts of the organization as a whole, since we are kind of on a national level, because 2 of our programs are national, but yet still trying to recruit funding and partnerships just within my own city.
And I'm sorry. So what was your question?
So my question is like, how do you leverage that, right? Like when I'm trying to find funders here that are sometimes concerned about like, that the funding's not staying here, even though it will stay here. And then also like organizationally, there's like the move management that you mentioned. Like we don't use move, we have our own, it's called something else, but it's the same thing, right? Like there's touch points, there's handwritten letters, there's things that are coming from like the corporate office anytime somebody gives. Depending on how much it is, then clearly the touch points are going to be a little bit different. And so my question is just kind of struggling with that balance of like that's already going on from corporate, then how do I keep them engaged here in my own state?
Yeah,
And collecting more, right? Like I'm trying to gain more partnerships and more funding just within my own state.
correct. So thanks for the question. So one, I would say, I mean, you can do touch points, many touch points. So if your corporate wrote a thank you, come from the national, your corporate office wrote a thank you, You can also, if you have their contact information or email or mail address, you can also write a thank you card, maybe a personal thank you card and things like that. So you can have multiple touch points. You don't just have to come from corporate. And then also, I don't know what type of nonprofit you are, but if you have something like a nonprofit that you can have like a benefactor from the organization to also write a thank you card, that would be great. Saying because once again, they want to keep it locally as well. The other thing is that getting involved with different organizations, maybe the chamber, maybe the Rotary Club, and things like that. So you can always and ask to speak at some of these. Now, every Rotary Club or Kiwanis Club are always looking for speakers, right? And so make sure to contact them to see how. Hey, if you don't have a speaker this week or next week, I love to speak about my organization and things like that. So, and then that's how you can start building your pipeline of individuals that can rally behind you and locally as well as far as what you're doing. You can go more in depth as well.
William, that promotional video that you shared, was that professionally produced?
Yes, it was. It was. I am
An in-kind
part
kind of contribution, or was that something that y'all actually had to pay for?
in kind. Thanks for asking. Yes, it was an in kind with that, and we got a relationship with that video company, and so that was in kind. I did the voiceover. I didn't think I wanted a scout to do it, but he got sick that day, so I had to pitch hit.
Perfect. Renee would like to know, have you experienced any difficulties now with the changes in federal funding and grants?
So great question. So we do not receive any federal funding, but I will say I have many colleagues that's in the state and also outside of the state who is experiencing that. And so some nonprofits have not ever done an annual campaign because they depend on a federal grant, right? So now many nonprofits are struggling. I know some nonprofits have positions that's funded by a federal grant. And so now they don't know if they're going to be there in the next 2 or 3 months and things like that. So I always say grants are great. Grants are great, but grants are always not, that's a federal grant, state grant, or private foundation grant. It's sometimes it may not be renewable, or you may not get it next year and things like that. So you always have to do a annual campaign of some type. And that's why it's so important now to ask the community to give back and to support you. But you got to tell your story. You got to make sure that you're mission driven, but also it's just not you. Do you have a board of directors? Do you have volunteers? Who else can tell your story to get funding and things like that? Good question. Thank you.
That leads us into our next question. Deborah wants to know, what are some best practices to get boards to engage in fundraising?
So if you have the answer, give it to me. But I tell you, one of the things you have to, so I have a board of 48. So you may say, oh, it's a big old board. Yeah, it is. It's 48 great people, 48 different personalities, but 48 individuals who believe in the mission. But also are engaged in some capacity. So I always make sure that I do an orientation every year for returning board members or current board members, just in case. And so during that orientation, we talk about the mission, we talk about being my expectation as a board member, and also about the fiduciary responsibility. And then the other things about fundraising. So you have an opportunity. So I believe in fund development instead of fundraising. So when I say fund development, is that we have 6 opportunities for you to give to scouting. One, you can give through your annual campaign. Number 2, you can give through the Golden Eagle event that we have. We do have a sporting clays event and also a golf tournament. Also, in kind, we have board members who work at different companies that can give us some pro bono stuff. And so whatever that is, we make sure that you have the opportunity to give that. So I believe more in fund development from a board than a fundraising. because different things a board can give can solidify 10 in-kind donation that would, if you had to pay for it, would have been $100,000. But they secured that in kind, so that's a check for them and things like that. We also talked about give and get. You know, you want to make sure that they can give and also introduce you to different people as well, of companies that you're not currently engaged with as well. So that orientation is so crucial because they want to know from the beginning what's my expectation as a board member, and have that refresher every year as well.
How should a new nonprofit start fundraising, especially if they have had to pivot from their initial programming?
Wow. Okay. So one, going back to with your campaign 1, 2, 3s. One, come up with a goal. Number two, push in your campaign leadership. You have to have volunteers, or is your nonprofit more staff driven? Regardless, you need individuals from the community to help you, because you're not going to know some of the donors, some of the companies that can help you get the funds you need. So I would say make sure you go back and look in the presentation on how to start a campaign. Start with your campaign leadership, have a goal, set benchmarks, do an orientation, have a kickoff, have your weekly reports, and then have a celebration. And so I can't, and so every nonprofit is different. Some nonprofits use the IC5 method, which is kind of old school. IC5 method. So you have a goal of $20,000. You recruit 5 people. Every person that you recruit have a goal of 5,000. So either that person can give you 5,000 or reach out to 5 other people and ask for $1,000. So that's called the IC5 method. Some methodology is doing a email campaign. Some people do that. Some people online through Facebook on and things of that nature. But if you're trying to do a traditional campaign, that campaign what we talked about is for donor cultivation and relationships and things like that. If you follow the campaign leadership, the campaign 1, 2, 3, I think you'll be in good measures. But the first thing is to recruit volunteers to help you, because you can't do it by yourself.
All right, William, what would you recommend as a first fundraising event for a new nonprofit? Would you suggest a gala, a silent auction? What, in your experience, is best for a first fundraising event for a new nonprofit?
So it really depends on what city you're in, what area you're in, what is successful. And I'm a big on visiting other nonprofits events. So where it's a golf tournament, sporting clays, a gala, a banquet, a auction, or whatever it may be, and then see how successful that is. And then is it oversaturated with galas? Is it oversaturated with golf tournaments and things like that? What's new came? So the first thing is do your research. Research is 95% of a fundraiser. Regardless of anything I just said, 95% of fundraising is research. Research, right? So looking at your area in the landscape, what are some things that are successful? What things are oversaturated? And then come up with what are some of the things you can bring in or new. So if a golf tournament is something that you want to kick off, make sure you have a chair. Make sure you have a goal. Make sure you don't concentrate on the whole signs. You need to concentrate on the teams, on the foursomes and sponsorships, because that's what's going to get you the greatest net that you need. Whole signs is great, it's good, but it's not going to bring you the magnitude of what you need, right? So I would say definitely research what is best for the area that you're in, and then number 2, recruit a committee. And with that committee, their mindset is sponsorships and teams or foursomes or whatever it may be, what you're going to do, or again auction items and things like that. Because if their mindset is planning the tournament, that's your job. You want them to sell.
What is the best time of year to do an annual campaign?
Oh, fundraising is a cold weather sport. So you need to kick off in November, December, and you need to end in June 1st. Because once it get hot, the giving stops. That's from my experience of over 15 years. Once it get hot, the giving stop. So yes, you can do your special events and things like that. But as far as an annual campaign, you need to kick off in the fall, would be November and December, and then from January through May, you have your different benchmarks, and then you have your celebration in June. Because after that, you're not going to get them. From my experience, um, over the last 15 years.
Mary Ellis wants to know, how do you balance fundraising for events to keep them from cannibalizing your annual appeal?
Great question. So many donors just only want to give to annual campaign. Some want to give to both. So I get them up. Like once again, my concept is fund development. I give you the opportunity to give to special events and also to annual giving, right? So I would say have that donor to make it sure. So when you go after that donor, um, you tell them all of your fundraising opportunities that they can give. Now, if you want to pinpoint, so if you know you have a person you're going after, a quick story. I knew that this donor was a golfer. I mean, big time golfer, right? But I was coming to ask her for an annual gift, and so what I did was I put in there with their annual gift also a foursome sponsor as well. And so she's like, okay, I think I want to give a little bit more to the golf tournament. I want to get three sponsors, three foursomes in the golf tournament. So things like that happen. But once again, research. If I had never done my research on her, I would have never known she was a golfer. I would have never known that she's at the golf at on the greens at least once or twice a week. So it's all about research.
What are your favorite ways to research, and or where do you go find out a lot of your information when you're looking at a potential donor?
Trying to take out my trying to take everything from me, but I tell you. So one thing I do, I look at the wealth engine. I also look at every chamber have different things. So you can look on the chamber and see who's doing what, and things of that nature. But I do the old-fashioned way, Google as well. Now, Google not going to tell you everything, but it can tell you a lot. But Wealth Engine is good. Wealth Engine is great, actually. We have a CRM. It's Blackbot. If you use Blackbot to the level it need to be used to, Blackbot can do a lot of things for you. So that CRM is good. I look through newspaper. Going to different events. I know one thing about the area I live in on the Gulf Coast in Mobile. There are a plethora of events. The chamber is very active. Rotary Club, galas. I mean, Mobile, home of Mardi Gras. So if they're in a Mardi Gras association, believe me, they give them a lot of money. Every February, they give them a lot of money. So that person you may want to have on your radar.
Jennifer wants to know, what are your thoughts on having one annual sponsorship ask, like a brochure that shows everything going on each year in different levels to opt in for? You offer them various levels to choose from where they can opt into everything, a few things, or just one thing. But they get asked once a year, so you're not coming back over and over again with your hand out, and they can budget in advance.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, giving them opportunities for that whole concept of fund development. But once again, going back to your research, so some companies like that, but some companies don't. Like I need to ask for the golf tournament, sporting clays, annual gift, and things like that. So because sometimes it's come out of different pockets. So a lot of times that when we go to different companies and ask for sponsorships or a gift and things like that, we always go to the foundation, right? But it may be the marketing department is giving that money. It may be the operational department is giving that money. So you have to realize doing your research again on where is the money coming from, because it may not all be coming from the foundation.
Deborah wants to know, are there state requirements nonprofits have to meet to fundraise?
Um, some. It really depends on what state you're in. And also there are some blackout points. So if you're a member of the United Way, it may be blackout days that you can't raise money, and you make sure that you adhere to that, right? Because you don't want to be in you want to be in compliance, because United Way is a great supporter of your organization, and you want to make sure you're in compliance. So we are in two United Ways. We're in United Way of Baldwin County and United Way of Southwest Alabama as well. So which are two great organizations. But they have, there are blackout dates that you cannot raise money or have your special event. So just make sure that not only from a state requirement, but also from if you're a agency that's part of a bigger organization, there's not different blackouts as well.
William, how many times do you meet with a potential donor before you make that ask?
So it depends on how much. So I never make the ask by myself. I was taught as a young person, never go into a major donor by yourself. Always go in with someone that knows the donor the best. And how do you find that person? So it could be a board member, it could be a community leader, that things like that. But always make sure you take at least one person, preferably two, but at least one person with you with that. And just FYI, so we have something called a strategy memo, right? A strategy memo is like a one pager. So when you're going in with that donor, going in with your volunteers or whatever, it's a this is the goal, this is who we meet with, the date, time, location, yada yada. This is the goal is to get $50,000, wherever it may be, whatever. And here are some bullet points, and make sure the people that you're going with, do they like to be scripted or do they like to have bullet points? Because that's so important. Because if this person like bullet points, you gave them a script and then they fumbling over words. So, and then you don't give them that the day of the meeting. You give them you have multiple meetings before that meeting and things like that. So I always say, if you meet with a donor, a major donor or a potential major donor, make sure you take someone with you that knows that donor the best. So I never go in by myself.
What is your best piece of advice that you can pass on to anybody that is making the ask and is in that fundraising role? What is the best piece of advice that you could give?
Yeah, great question. Make sure you're prepared. Preparation is the key to your success. So when I say research, that's preparing. You're prepping yourself to have all the back information. Because even if you're going with a volunteer to meet with that donor, some of the things they may not know, right? So you're prepping them beforehand, like they have given to this organization and things of that nature. So research is the key to your success. And then the last thing is thank you. If you have the meeting and if they say yes or no, still send a thank you call, still send a thank you letter. An email is great. That's that first, but thank you card. Every donor I have talked to, and if I have met with them after they have given the gift already, they always say thank you for that thank you card. That was very nice. I don't typically get thank you cards anymore. So thank you for sending that. So don't take sending a thank you, a handwritten thank you for granted, because that goes a long way, especially with major donors.
How do you respond to a no, making the ask, and how do you turn that no into a yes?
Yeah, so I have got a plethora of no's during my lifetime, right? And so one of the things I do, once that donor or company say no, I do send a reply saying thank you for just giving the opportunity to submit or for our meeting and things like that. But then I also, if I know I want to ask next year, I send like those cultivation correspondence. So if we having a day camp and so what we do every year is send something called a 30-second update. And I will show that with you I'll show that before it's over, of something that we recap the event that we do with pictures, right? We have over 100 scouts. They did this. I send them all. I include them in that mailing list as well. And so then when I come back next year, I'm like, hey, I like what you're doing. And so the conversation is better. So they can turn that no into a yes. But sometimes it just may take a little time to continue to cultivate. And so once you continue to cultivate, you may not get a no, you may not get a yes next year. You may not get a yes the following year. But I tell you, if you continue to cultivate strategically, that no will turn into a yes.
Mary Ellis asks, what advice would you have for a young professional looking to grow in their fundraising career?
Yeah, so I would say definitely get a mentor. One of the things that, and it could be someone inside your company or someone outside your company. I actually have both. And one thing about a mentor, they're always going to say, whenever we meet, is your meeting. So what do you want to enhance about your career, or how can I give you advice about something? So I always remember it's your meeting, and you're getting their expertise and feedback. So I would definitely say get a mentor, go to different organizations, go to different. So one thing about what I have learned, and this is my third time moving within scouting, is that many times nonprofits don't talk to each other. It's okay to go to another nonprofit event. Why not? Support your other nonprofit and then pay. If it's $25, pay. Don't expect to go for free because they're doing the same thing you're doing as well, right? But support each other as well and see what they're doing, because we don't do everything correct. I always support many of my colleagues around here in Mobile area and the Gulf Coast, because I'm constantly learning. And I want to meet people as well. Like, hey, you're not stealing sponsorships. The only thing you're doing is you're going to support, and you may have to run into someone that you have not gotten their support before. And hey, maybe I'm a new supporter, but I always say support your other colleagues, and then number three is always research as well. But I would say that mentor can be great. Uh, get a mentor or someone that can help you with your journey in this nonprofit space.
I agree. It's a spirit of collaboration, not competition.
Correct.
Jennifer asked, what are your thoughts on fundraising when you are a local branch of a large organization? I've been involved with the Red Cross for over 30 years, and so many times chapters are not only competing with other charities, but other Red Cross chapters and the National Red Cross organization as well. We have found we have to coordinate state, regional, and national ask much more than we used to because donors are getting hit from many angles.
Can you hear me, Brittany?
And yes.
So I fall in that realm, right? So we have 234 councils across the country at national offices in Dallas or Irving, Texas. And so we always say that membership is definitely localized, but fundraising funding can come from anywhere, right? But however, it's all about it's the relationship. It's the relationship. So if I have a major donor or a significant donor that's in Mobile or Baldwin County or wherever it may be, and nationalists also have a prospect of the same prospect, typically what happens, the foundation will call me and what type of relationship you have with XYZ. I say, yeah, we got this, yada. And then how can we come together to ask for a bigger ask and have the decision of the donor. So it's all about the donor. So if the donor wants to have a bigger footprint in scouting and things like that, but I also want to make sure that localized is taken care of. So if National can come in and make a bigger ask, so if I'm only getting $100,000 and National says, hey, we can get like $1 million, and then we'll split it 80-20, 80% Mobile, 20% National. Hey, it is what it is. So I have a good working relationship with the National Foundation. Now I know every organization is done differently, but but the hope is that you put that onus on the donor to see what they want to do, and don't make a decision for the donor. You can make the ask, but don't make a decision.
Deborah wants to know if you have any tips for fundraising from elected officials.
Um, so I try to stay away from that. So we have many elected officials that are Eagle Scouts in this area. They're in scouting and things like that. So what I do, I give them an opportunity to give. Uh, is if they want to, they can. But I only give them opportunities to give because once again, we are a nonpartisan organization. So you don't want to align yourself with any organization because we are nonpartisan, right? So I'm not going to take a picture with you. I'm not going to do a check presentation. None of that. But however, if you give to scouting, if you in the political arena, you can sometimes we have uh, um, political figures may want to get a golf team and things like that, but it's fine. It's as long as you pay. But however, we are a nonpartisan organization, so I'm not going to align myself. I align myself with you as a Eagle Scout, as a volunteer and things like that, but not as a congressman or senator or whatever it may be. And thank you for your support. And then most of the time, they want to support something specifically, where it may be our Scout Reach program or a specific unit or by uniforms and things like or on behalf of XYZ. So.
Any last questions for William? William, thank you so much for a wonderful program today. Everyone, you'll be getting an email from me with a link to today's presentation and recording, a short 3-question survey, and an opportunity to sign up to be a Carey Center nonprofit affiliate. The Carey Center Nonprofit Affiliate Program currently serves over 400 nonprofits in Alabama and beyond and offers educational programming, professional development, and networking opportunities to nonprofit professionals. Carey Center Nonprofit Affiliates are the first to learn about upcoming programming, and membership is free. We are excited to announce that we are now offering the Carey Center Nonprofit Professional Certificate. This is an online, non-degreed certificate and offered through a partnership with the Auburn University Office of Professional and Continuing Education and Merit Nonprofit Professional Development and provides a tailored curriculum for nonprofit professionals. Merit is an anytime, anywhere micro-learning platform that builds 6 core nonprofit proficiency areas, including leading, learning, resource generating, planning, managing, and overseeing through 28 different learning paths. Thank you for joining us today. We hope to see you at one of our monthly virtual programs or in person for our nonprofit training series currently traveling the state. Thank you so much, William.
Thank you.